Hello, everybody. Scott Sword here, and welcome back to another video. Or if you just magically stumbled across this video on YouTube, hello, welcome to the channel, and thank you for checking this out. A little bit of a different video for me today. No gameplay, well, at least not my own gameplay. We're going to be looking at the latest announcement from Nomad Games, all about their upcoming title, which is called Board Game Cafe, which is due to be released. Well, I don't know. I don't know when the full release date will be, but hopefully early access will be some point later in the year. So very exciting. The game was first announced about a month ago, and since then there's a really short sort of 45-second announcement video for it. But then since then there's been quite a lot of conversation on the Nomad Discord server, um, all about the game, and they actually put up some uh, Google Forms that the community can suggest certain things. We'll get into that later once you know that what that's about. Um, but basically, yeah, I'm really intrigued about this game. Uh, Partly because obviously my channel is focused around digital adaptations of board games, and I love playing board games in real life. And I wouldn't have really discovered, the world that is modern board games had it not been for the fact that I was taken to a board game cafe a few years ago. So it started that journey for me. So, it's kind of going around full circle again, being able to have a game based upon a board game cafe. But also, when I first started playing video games, the things I used to play were things like Transport Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon, sort of like management simulator type games. So, and I haven't played a lot of them in a while. I do want to, but just by the time I started doing lots of stuff for the channel with board games and stuff, I don't really have much time for that sort of thing. But I'm really intrigued to have a game um, which is that sort of management style. I'm really intrigued about it. And just say, I really like the logo they've come up with. You've got the meatballs, classic, and you've also got the coffee cups with the dice on the edge, on the outside. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So yeah, so basically, Nomad Games have put out this blog all about the game, and there's a video that we're going to watch as well. Um, just for a little bit of background, in case people don't know, the reason why I know Nomad Games fairly well is because they did the digital adaptation of Fury of Dracula. Whereas if you look on my channel, you'll see that's the sort of the main thing that I talk about. They've done other things as well. They've done the digital adaptation of Talisman, Mystic Veil. I'm trying to think what else. I saw recently that I don't think they published it, but they developed the board game or the digital adaptation of Love Letter, very popular small card game. They've done the console version of Catan as well, so they're very much focused on um, these digital adaptations of board games, which is great. This is actually going to be the first time that Nomad Games is going to create their own game, if that makes sense, instead of just being a digital adaptation of a board game. And I'm really pleased to see that because they are quite a small company, and it's really great to see them have the confidence to do something brand new from scratch. I'm not saying that making digital adaptations of board games is easy, but it's just the fact that they're doing something like this completely from scratch. But obviously, it's still within their remit of board games, right? They haven't gone left field and done something completely different, like a zombie, survival game or something. Um, so yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what they come up with. So anyway, let's check out the video. I think we're going to hear the dulcet tones of Tom, Tom Young, who is the marketing um, guru for Nomad Games, who's actually featured on my channel. We had a game of Fear of Dracula about a year ago, and we were discussing all things Nomad and how it works behind the scenes. Um, and hopefully be able to get him back onto the channel at some point soon for a chat again. And he, I'm going to say like Nomad Games are really good. They've got their own Discord server, and Tom in particular is really active on there in terms of talking to the community about the games, receiving feedback if there are bugs and that sort of thing, and also just general banter. So it's just there's a really nice little community over there. So anyway, um, let's watch this. And I'll pause it in between and then we can chat about it. I have actually watched this video before. I did want to do it as a first time reaction. But as you can kind of tell from my voice, I'm a little bit sick at the moment. I do promise my voice is normally better than this. um, So yeah, I listened back to the recording I did last night, and it was just very rambly and not very good. So I thought let's redo it. Right. Anyway, take it away, Tom.
Last month, we officially announced our next game, Board Game Cafe. In this trailer, we're going to show you some gameplay from the game, where we're up to at the moment with the early access version, which is currently in alpha, and you can wishlist it now. So we wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what the game features, some of the core gameplay mechanics, and basically explain what you're going to be doing in the game. The core of Board Game Cafe is, as to be expected, your day to day cafe management. You're going to be keeping an eye on your customers, you'll be keeping an eye on your staff, you'll be making sure that everyone's needs are met when it comes to both cardboard and coffee. So, as customers walk past your cafe, they'll either be intrigued and walk in off the street, or they'll pass by. So, it's up to you to make your cafe as attractive and enticing as possible.
So it's going to be really interesting to see the number of options that are going to be in this game in terms of the design aspect of it, right? Because I know there'll be some people who will be kind of intrigued by this game partly because of board games, partly because of the management stuff, but then there'll be other people who'll be more inclined, to play this game because of the customization. And I'm seeing here there are options at the bottom of the screen for furniture and decor and all that sort of stuff. So I wonder, it'd be interesting to see how much um, customization there can be, um, not only just in terms of like the size of the board game cafe, but then um, you know what sort of things you can decorate inside, how the outside is decorated, all that sort of stuff.
So that you'll get as many customers coming in as you can. No one wants to play board games in a boring cafe, so we've put in the tools so that you can decorate, design, and customize the cafe that you want to see. You a big fan of wargaming? You'll be able to turn your cafe into the destination for dice rolling and moving tiny men around a board. Would you rather have a more cozy, family friendly feel? You can stock board games that suit that kind of audience. Staff play a key part in Board Game Cafe. While you're looking after the big picture and ensuring the business runs smoothly, your hardworking staff, hopefully, will be keeping your cafe clean, keeping your customers happy, making
Yeah, the way he said hopefully, that's very ominous. There's some interesting stuff in here. There's all these different stats for the different employees. Why is there an employee with 5% friendliness? Surely that would have, how do they get the job in the first place? Um, I'm also seeing here like the reliability bar, even if it's only at like 91%, that's very low apparently. What does it mean by reliability? In terms of like them turning up for work on time? I like sorry, these comments at the bottom. Luca owns 13 hamsters. Sophia is the chosen one. Luca feels like someone is watching them. Good grief. Okay. Oh, there's two Lucas, and this one is smarter than a smartwatch. Okay. I see. Nice.
sure all your board games are properly stacked and put away at the end of the day. Each staff member has different areas of expertise, so you need to get yourself a well balanced team in order to properly run your cafe. There's a
I just saw a thing, so I'm just going to back up. I saw a thing here, so I was also wondering, are these stats fixed or will they improve over time? But it looks like here you can spend money to train your staff member. $100 to improve the stat by 1%. That seems like quite a lot. So the kind of thing I'm interested in with this game is how is also the economy going to work? Are you actually going to be swimming in money? Because I mean, a lot of people, if you play sort of um, simulator management type games, at the beginning, money can be very, very tight, but then as it goes on, you're just swimming in cash. Um, so I wonder if that would be the case as well with this one, or if the economy is going to be sort of a lot more realistic and you won't make much profit. So this seems quite a lot. Um, it'd be interesting to. Is this like $100 to improve the stat by 1%, like just a boost that you can do, or will the stats actually like genuinely increase over time? And this training is just like a boost that you can put on top of it. Interesting.
Get yourself a well-balanced team in order to properly run your cafe. There's a whole ton of different board games out there in the real world, and we're working to bring as many of them as possible into Board Game Cafe because there's tons of genres, niches, themes. We want you to be able to build the board game collection in your cafe that you'd want to see.
Right, I'm just going to back up. This was the thing in particular that really struck me, and I'm really intrigued about this. So, if you see that down the bottom, they've got real board games here. So it's not going to be a case that this board game cafe is going to have generic boxes that the guests or the customers are going to be playing with. There are real board games that are going to be in the game, and you can choose the games that you can stock. And already on the Nomad Discord channel, they've had a Google form up, um, and they've invited people in the community to suggest games that they want to see in the game. Which I think is a really cool idea. So the whole community is going to contribute towards this library of games they're going to have. Um, so I think that's really, really neat. Obviously, I want a little bit of Fear of Dracula in there, obviously, right? But this also be really neat because it's talking about, if I just keep going a little bit.
Build the board game collection in
So it's got a description here of what the game is,
your cafe.
and then it's talking here about information, the purchase price, the genre, how many players, and there's some extra information. It says keywords, and these keywords are question marked. Is that because it's in alpha, so they haven't done it yet, or is this something that I, as the player, can write in? Um, Interesting. Oh, they got like a niche rating as well. I think that's a really cool, and I think this would be a really neat thing that you can then, as a player, I can discover because there'll be so many board games here. I don't recognize a lot of these. I recognize Cat Lady because that's another Nomad Games title. Tiny Towns, I've never played, but I want to play it. I've seen people on YouTube. Cascadia, yep. But the others don't really ring a bell. So again, I'll be as a player, I'll be able to discover more board games from it, which is always a good thing.
That you'd want to see. It's important not to forget the cafe part of Board Game Cafe. You'll be able to stock all sorts of different food, drinks, and more to keep your customers happy. We want to recreate the experience of grabbing a brand new board game, pulling it out of the box, and seeing all the fancy, shiny things that are inside. So that's where we came up with the unboxing feature. You'll be able to open up any game in your collection, and you can examine all the components at your own leisure. Knowing your customers.
That's very dangerous. I might just spend all my time doing that and not actually playing the game. But I think that's a really neat idea because you could definitely see a whole community like built around this. People suggesting games, updates, over time as more games get added into like the whole overall game library. Um, and then every players can then learn new games from it, which I think is really neat. The thing I'm interested though is how's this going to work in terms of you choosing the games that you want in your cafe? I know they said there's a purchase price, so is it so then is it just are all the games unlocked from the very beginning? Um, and you just decide which ones you can buy based on how much money you've got, or would it be that there'll be certain games that will be like set at like a lower in-game like experience level or something, and then as you rank up through the campaign mode or get more experience with the game, then more and more of the board game library becomes available to you. If it's the latter, then how are they going to decide which games are lower experience and which ones are higher experience, if that makes sense? Hmm.
To open up any game in your collection, and you can examine all the components at your own leisure.
That's right.
Knowing your customers is key to running a successful business in Board Game Cafe. You'll be able to keep track of your customers' happiness, hunger, thirst. You'll also be able to see what their favorite genres are, how many times they've been to your cafe before, and properly drill down into the kind of niches that you should be catering to. It's all well and good having the best board game cafe ever, but what if nobody knows about it? That's why we've implemented advertising so that you can spend your money on getting more people into your cafe.
Interesting. But here's the thing. So the only thing I'd say is like from a realism perspective, how many of us have seen a board game cafe advert on TV? I mean, maybe on the local one, perhaps. Um, Social media definitely, and I can imagine, yeah, local newspapers carrying it too. But I don't know about television. But yeah, that'd be kind of cool though. If you could maybe put, I wonder if you could not just that you can advertise on social media. Is there going to be a possibility that your board game cafe will have its own website that you could customize potentially?
In order to prove that you can run your own board game cafe, we've implemented a number of challenges that you can accomplish while you're playing the game. So, as you're playing, new challenges will pop up and you'll get rewarded for completing them. This reward can be either money or unlocking new board games and decorations for your cafe.
Oh, okay. So it seems like board games can be unlocked then. So it seems to be then that latter suggestion I had that there'll be some board games that will be available to you from the beginning and some will be locked and you have to um, do challenges. So then the question I would have is, do you need to complete these challenges? Or would you be able to play it well without completing the challenges? Or would you be able to play it almost like as a sandbox mode where the challenges are just turned off? But then maybe that might change the economy aspect of it. If you're getting money as a reward, then would that then affect the economy?
And if you think you know your board games pretty well, we've implemented a recommendation system. So, when customers come in who don't know about board games, they'll occasionally ask for recommendations based on what you have in your collection. So, if someone's looking for a casual two-player game that they can finish in 20 minutes, you can choose what game to recommend them. Of course,
Fear of Dracula. No, Fear of Dracula is a terrible game to suggest for people who are not really into board games and have a very restricted time limit. I'm also seeing. I've just suddenly realised that all the controls so far look like they're Xbox controllers. So would you be able to play it keyboard mouse? I assume you can. Um, so I guess then if they're able to do it on a controller, the controls can't be that difficult then. It kind of makes sense for a management game, just more just clicking windows and things. I've also noticed this chat box on the left hand side looks quite big. I wonder if there'll be like some sort of option to maybe shrink that if you want to, or maybe turn it off.
as the manager of a board game cafe, you need to keep an eye on your daily reports. So that includes your finances, that includes where people are spending their money, and identifying where you can make even more income.
Okay, so these are the different things you have to keep an eye on. So money made from playing games and food. Okay, so I guess the furniture costs are so high because that's probably the first day or second day where you've been customizing stuff. I assume this rent is not the daily rent. I assume that's the monthly rent. Still, $4,000 loss in one day. That's not ideal. I mean, that's the thing I'm kind of intrigued by. Like how something that I've always sort of, I've never asked anybody because I don't know anybody who can answer the question, I guess. But how profitable are board game cafes? I assume they must be, otherwise they wouldn't keep, they wouldn't stay in business. I know with the pandemic, unfortunately, quite a lot of them closed down. But how much profit are they actually able to generate? Um, it's quite a lot of upfront cost in terms of them paying the rent and the staff, and then actually buying all the board games and having a well-stocked library. Um, I guess then after that, the only then thing you make quite a lot of money back from selling food, I guess. So this looks like it's quite early on that they're only making $85. Hang on a minute. You got one for playing games. You got one saying buy and sell games. So so the thing that I was thinking about last night was there's one board game cafe in particular that I went into in Edinburgh, and I hadn't seen a board game cafe do it like this before, where they had on one side of the rooms, there's only purely a one room um, cafe. There's no like basement or anything, but On one side of the room, you had the library of games that customers who were just coming in to play the games could play from or could choose from. And then on the other side, on the other wall, there was a library of games, all still wrapped up in plastic and stuff that then you could buy. Um, so does that look like this is going to be the case as well? Could you have then a separate shelf for games that are going to be played and games that you can sell? And then the next question would be, realistically, how much profit margin is there on buying and selling games? I've always thought that in terms of like when you see shop, not board game cafes, but shops that just sell board games, how much profit do they realistically make? Are they able to buy the games quite cheaply from the manufacturer, um, or from the publisher? So it'd be kind of interesting to see, is this economy designed so that inside the game your cafe will always be profitable after a certain point, or is it actually really based on sort of real like board game cafe economics and they've done a lot of research by talking to people inside the industry? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. Interesting to see how they do
Thanks
it.
for checking out the
Oh,
gameplay
that's
for
it.
Board Game Cafe. You can wishlist it on Steam now.
Don't worry, Tom. Done it already. Can't wait to try it out. And that's it. There's quite a lot of stuff going on. Is there anything that I've missed? Um, so yeah, there's very sort of like Sims-like in terms of the people just walking around. That's absolutely fine. I love the meeples on the floor. That's awesome. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how much customization there is. There's also like clearly a logo here for your cafe. Can you customize that? How much customization can you potentially make a logo outside of the game and then somehow import it into the game? Um, because I already know if I if I was the case, I'd try to design something on PowerPoint or something, and or people I could go wild on you know, drawing their own logos or doing stuff on Photoshop or whatever. You can import it into the game. Um, yeah, how much customization is possible? I'm seeing here too, like there's the cafe they've got in the game that they're showing us had only a little bit as windows along one side. It'd be kind of nice. The One of the cafes I saw in Edinburgh had windows all the way round, and they actually had the shelf of board games that you could play up stacked against one of the windows. So you could, if you were inside the cafe, you could see what games could be played, and then if you're walking past, you could also look at the stack of board games. I thought it was kind of neat. Um, and there's one of the challenges said at the top. Get 100 customers to enter the cafe. Okay, so it's kind of intriguing to see if you can. Do you need to complete these challenges? Is it a detriment if you don't? Can you still function the cafe without it? Can you turn these off? Because also I saw in the very very first sort of part of the video they had career. So what will that entail? Do you just have to you just get a board game cafe and then you keep improving it until you reach a certain number of customers or some sort of objective, and then it goes on to the next one? Can you have a sandbox mode where you don't have to do any sort of leveling up? You just have one board game cafe, just focus on that. Um, or if you create a board game cafe inside this career and then you complete the objective, can you stay within that cafe and just keep playing with that one? And you don't have to move on. It's like with Roller Coaster Tycoon, we got all the different theme parks. Even if you complete the objective for the first one, you can just keep loading into that save and playing that park as much as you like. So interesting to see how they do that. I also saw, I can't remember if it was in the video, was it on the blog post? I think it might have been on the blog post. Let's go back to that one a second. I think most of this information is what Tom said in the video. I'm still laughing about the 5% friendliness on, on the staff. Um, but the thing was like the event calendar. This is kind of interesting. So, because that's a thing that's quite common now. Board game cafes will run events, So is that something you can do in this game where, say, for example, you have during, say, um, the normal working hours, you have a more diverse range of board games available and more family friendly stuff. But then, say at night, you could have a dedicated event where only a certain type of board game is played. Like you could have a Fear of Dracula themed night, and then Warhammer themed night, and then Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever. I'm trying to read exactly what it says on this calendar. They're talking about roadworks. Um, am I being silly? That's not a board game, right? How are roadworks going to affect things? Unless you've got the road outside, is that actually going to affect how many customers come into your shop? Those are saying here pensioner invasion 3 times a month. Is that an event in your cafe? You're going to have lots of old people coming in. I don't know if there's going to be much of a appeal for older people playing board games, or maybe I'm wrong. If you're an older person and you like board games, feel free to leave a comment below. I'm also seeing a thing here too. Oh, it does say that. You'd better make sure you got plenty of tea and biscuits for when the old folks pop into your cafe after their weekly walk. Oh, okay. All right. Um, oh yeah, once your cafe is popular enough, you'll also be able to host monthly tournaments for specific games. Ooh, if one of your regulars represent your cafe in a tournament, either hosted by you or a much bigger event, and wins, you'll gain prizes and fame for your cafe. Ooh. Well, that's neat. Oh, I like that idea. And they're also talking here, I saw in the video there was some rain, so it looks like there's going to be weather in the game. So then that'll affect, how many customers come into your cafe. Um, so I assume then if you've got this calendar, you will literally be able to play every single day if that's the case. It says that there's only going to be 2 rainy days in April. That's not very realistic. Well, at least not for Scotland anyway. So I don't know where this board game cafe is meant to be set. Um, can you fiddle with these? Is the weather purely random, or can you set the probability of rain somewhere inside the game? Um, if you want to make it more like Scotland. um, Intriguing. Um, yeah, the recommendation system is going to be cool. All right. Okay. So it's going to be. It seems to be going quite a lot of stuff in the game. At the same time, obviously, given the theme, it's going to be quite light-hearted as well. So it's going to be that nice balance, I think. Um, I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I'm just intrigued to try it whenever I can. You bet. As soon as I get the chance, I will be playing it, checking it out. Um, I'm just intrigued to see how many how many board games and customization options will be available in the base game, and how much stuff comes into play later on with updates and things. And I'm just also intrigued in terms of the economy. There's something that can get a bit frustrating with management games where once you get past a certain point, the money is just rolling in. And that might not be necessarily very realistic in this case. Um, yeah. And I'm just, yeah, same things I said before, like the buying and selling of board games. Can you actually then sell board games? I saw with the staff, they had a sell ability stat. But is that for food or for trying to, encourage the customers to stay longer in the shop or literally to sell board games? So that's kind of intriguing. Then what sort of, you know, markups and profit margins you can make on these sort of things. I'm just intrigued to see because it's stuff that I've thought about when I've gone to board game cafes and wondered how do they, what sort of, how much money do they actually make from these things? Especially after the first year, when a lot of the time then the rent increases. They might get a subsidy for the first year, then it increases. Um, there's gonna be a lot of options, so I'm really intrigued to see um, what it looks like and what else gets added that we haven't been shown yet. Oh, what are they saying here? All different types of board games. 10,000 go to Board Game Geek. I don't know. They won't be able to get all 10,000 in. But it'd be really cool to see in terms of the community what they've suggested and what games they'll actually be able to implement. Because they might have for some games, they might have to get some sort of licensing issues. So they must be really working really hard on that. So I can definitely see board games being added over time, rather than having all of them available. You can just constantly keep building the library as it goes along, and it'll just keep um, a lot of interest in the game. So there you go. I don't know how, but I've managed to take a 4 minute video and make it into a half an hour discussion. But hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully, if you didn't know about this game, then you know about it now. Feel free to leave any comments below, things that you're intrigued about, things I might have missed. Um, and if it's people who know more about board game cafes than I do, feel free to leave comments below. And I'll see you in another video very, very soon. Take care, everybody.